Hey, it's me. Okay, I just saw Ariel Bissett do the Goodreads tag, and since I have a little bit of a fascination with Goodreads to the point where I have the app, and every time I read more pages, I feel like I need to input it so that it counts somewhere other than just in my brain and in my bookmark. I love Goodreads. I have a fascination, and I really wanted to do this tag. So this is what we're going to do today. Ready? Let's go. So the first question is, what book did you last mark as read? And for me, that is Nick Offerman's Paddle Your Own Canoe, which I just did a review about, link in the description. This was very funny, a nice account of his life in a little bit of a memoir style, and he is a television personality on Parks and Recreation, a show that I also watch, and I would highly recommend it if you are into that show. Very funny. This was great. The second question is, what books are you currently reading? And I'm currently reading 3, sort of. Firstly, I am still reading French Women Don't Get Fat. It's taking me a long time because I sort of want to read it. I don't want to sit down and read it all at once. I want to read it in stages and sort of be able to work through the things that it says. I'm also reading The Charity by Connie Johnson Hambley, which is actually #1 at the top of Amazon's mystery and thriller right now. You should go check it out if you're really into mystery stories. One of my coworkers' mothers wrote it, and it is a fabulous mystery novel so far. And I'm also reading Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, which is a little bit shorter, and when I bought it, I didn't realize exactly how short it was, and I started over spring break and meant to read it on the plane ride from here to home, and just thought I could push through it, and then life caught up with me again. And I have not had a lot of time to read lately. Does anyone else hear that noise? I hear that noise. Okay, well, we're gonna pretend that that's not happening. I haven't had a lot of time to read lately, so I'm hoping to get back to that one first and finish that off and then tear through the other 2. So the third question is, what book did you last mark as to be read? And that was a book called Stuck in Downward Dog by Chantal Gutterin. As a dancer and someone who does yoga, I was intrigued by the title, and I kind of just clicked it without really reading the description. But it turns out I think it's kind of like a romancy, getting back into the game after breaking up kind of novel. And I'm not really sure what it has to do with yoga or why the title is relevant, but I kind of want to read it just because it's got Downward Dog in the title. But the other one that I have just recently read, because I kind of did these 2 at the same time, was Z, a novel of Zelda Fitzgerald by Therese Ann Fowler. And as someone who has only ever read The Great Gatsby and is really interested in reading more of F. Scott Fitzgerald's work, from the bits and pieces of it that I have read in the past, I'm very much intrigued by him and his life and his family. So I think it would just be interesting to read about Zelda, especially since I've sort of heard that she wanted to do her own thing and write for herself, and he told her that she couldn't. I don't know if that's just a rumor, but I'm very intrigued by the whole Fitzgerald lifestyle family thing. The next question is, what book do you plan on reading next? And next I plan on reading a book written by one of my friends. It is Night Crawlers by Kaylee McHugh. I don't know what this is about, except that it is dystopian. Some other friends of mine that have read this say that it's really great, and I'm very, very interested to read my very own copy. 5th question, do you use the star rating system? And I will say this about the star rating system. I think that it provides a very clear picture of what people think about books, but it confuses me to death, because I might give 2 books 5 stars for completely different reasons and actually like them on very different levels, and I don't feel that 2 5-star books are the 5-star same in both regards. I do think that there should be an implementation of a half-star system. I think that would be incredibly helpful. I don't know how much coding that would take to get that on the website, but if it wouldn't take a lot, it would be fabulous. Most of the time, to supplement my star rating, I try to write a decent length review, just kind of sort of explain myself or justify the rating, but recently I haven't had a lot of time for it, so I've just been starring everything. But the star system seems universal, and into my mind it's really not. So I use it, but I'm not totally comfortable with it. it's just sort of a way for me to remember how much I thought I enjoyed something at the time I'd read it. Question 6, are you doing a 2014 reading challenge? Yes, I am. I have challenged myself to read 25 books, which is 5 more than I challenged myself to read last year. And I know that seems really low, but when you are in arts administration, life comes up on you fast. And I think I'm like 3 books behind or something like that. I don't really know. But I also want to reference what Ariel Bissett has said in the past about reading breaks and this reading challenge thing. And she has a whole video on it and it's great. And I just want to shove it out to the entire world to see. Because I also think that the Goodreads reading challenge, while interesting and like it's a challenge yourself, go for it, do it. But it puts a lot of pressure on people to read. And I look at these people who set these like 75, 100 goals for themselves, and that's fabulous. Like, great. If you can get through that much literature in an entire year, good on you. But I can't. I read fairly quickly, but I have a crazy life, and maybe that'll slow down after university. Certainly hope it will a little bit. But I look at these other people with these high reading goals, and I get very disappointed with myself because I know that I can't set goals that high because I will fail at them. And I think even 25 books creates a lot of pressure for me. Like being 3 behind, I just checked, it just makes me very nervous. It makes me feel bad about myself, like I'm behind everybody else and I'm behind where I ought to be, and I don't like feeling that. So while I am doing the challenge, it's kind of at the back of my mind. It's a good thing to do and sort of, I guess, push yourself to read more. But at the same time, I like reading the books that I want to when I want to. There's a time and place for each book. And if that comes within a year and I happen to read more books because it's their time, great. And if it doesn't, also great. That is how I feel about the reading challenge, secretly. Not so secretly. Okay, the next question is, do you have a wish list? No, I don't. I feel like some of the idea of a wish list is so that people know what to get you, and people buying things for me makes me extremely uncomfortable. Also, if people were to get things for me, I don't think anyone that knows me really knows what book I would want, and maybe this would help them, but it's just easier because I have such this crazy, childish, classic, oddball taste in books that I think it's just easier for me to pick out my own books. I don't have a wish list anywhere. I just have a list of books in the back of my reading journal that I keep. If you don't know what my reading journal is, it's like scattered amongst like 12 different videos. You should go see it. It's really fabulous. It's by Potter Books. You can buy them on Amazon. But I have a TBR list, obviously on Goodreads and in the back of my reading journal, and that kind of acts as my wish list. I know that if I'm going to go buy a book, I will probably not look at that list, but I will probably see something and remember that I put it on the list. So that's kind of the way I do wish listy things. I don't get wish lists because I never remember to go back and look at them, really. Lists are for immediacy for me, not long term. Subsequently, what book do I plan to buy next? I don't really know. I don't go often to bookstores and be like, oh yeah, want to pick up that one. Mostly because I'm not often in the sphere of new things when they come out. It's sort of like, oh, this looks good. This sounds interesting. I would like to buy this. Also, I don't buy a lot of books. I have quite a few that I have with me here and at home that are unread. And I kind of want to get through those before I buy anything else. That being said, I do really want Harry Potter 1 through 3 in hardcover because this is the only 3 I don't own in hardcover, and the covers that I have are falling apart. So if I'm going to buy anything, it's going to be those. Or it's going to be the box set of the Princess Diaries that you can get from the UK publisher because they're really beautiful and they come in a great box, and I don't think the language is very different. All right, the next question is, do you have favorite Goodreads quotes? And I don't, which is really interesting because I have an entire 8.5 by 11 quotation book that I keep, that I write quotations down in from anywhere, television shows, music, whatever, people, best friends, etc. And I don't use the Goodreads quotes, even though a lot of my favorite quotations are from books. It's probably a function that I should use because I like so many things, and I will share a few with you right now. They slipped briskly into an intimacy from which they never recovered, which is from F. Scott Fitzgerald's This Side of Paradise, which I have not read, but I plan to. because of my Fitzgerald thing. From John Green's An Abundance of Catherines, the thing about chameleoning your way through life is that it gets to where nothing is real. And Tennessee Williams' The Glass Menagerie, for nowadays the world is lit by lightning, so blow out your candles, Laura, and so, goodbye. Kind of like a lot of sad quotes. Don't know what's up with that. The next question is, who are your favorite authors? And I had to think a lot about this because I think I have a lot of favorite books, but not necessarily favorite authors, because a lot of them don't have enough canon for me to really continuously read and decide that they are a person with whom I will stick in my literary progression. I do obviously want to mention F. Scott Fitzgerald, and I also want to mention Julie Campbell, who is the author of the Trixie Belden series, and if you've seen any video before this one, you know that I enjoy Trixie Belden. Also, hand in hand with that, Lloyd Alexander, author of the Chronicles of Prydain, children's lit fan over here. Fabulous, fabulous storytelling, not necessarily narrative, but storytelling in a whole different sort of visual sense and understandable young person sense. And I think it takes a lot of effort to tell a nuanced story to children that is still understandable by adults. You can still pick up on those nuances that children also will, as opposed to telling a nuanced story specifically for adults, because you have to use very different language, and I think there's just a lot more vividness when you write for children. For some reason, someday I will do some serious thinking about this and be able to explain where that difference lies, whether it's simplicity of syntax or whatnot, but that should be like a whole master's thesis. Maybe I'll do it one day. Lastly, do you belong to any Goodreads groups? And I think Bex and I belong to YouTube book reviewers, which honestly I think we just joined because we considered ourselves to be that, but I have no idea what it's about, don't really participate in any part of it at all. I sometimes get the notifications and it's interesting, and it's not even on my radar most of the time until I get those emails, which is probably not something that I should say. So no, I don't really understand groups. Well, that's it, my friends. That is the Goodreads tag. I will link the original creator in the description. Thanks to Ariel Bissett for doing the tag, because that made me want to do it too. I hope you are all having lovely weeks and lovely lives, and I will see you very soon.